Hailed as the land of fire and ice, the mystical Nordic island country we know as Iceland is well known for its dramatic scenery with thunderous waterfalls, explosive geysers, icy glaciers, volcanic black sand beaches, and the magical northern lights. Whether it's your first time or your fifth time to Iceland, here is my travel guide with my top most epic things to do in Iceland's iconic Golden Circle. In March, I travelled from London to Reykjavík for the very first time with three good friends, and we road tripped the iconic Golden Circle that loops from Reykjavík and back. Iceland was everything we expected and more. 4 seasons in a single day, more natural phenomenon within 300 kilometres than you could count on both hands, and of course, exceptionally expensive beer. One of the biggest questions I had before visiting Iceland was, is Iceland really that expensive? All I'm gonna say is, the legends are true. Iceland is notoriously expensive, and we knew that we wanted to treat ourselves to some amazing meals and excursions and tours, and we purchased most of our tour experiences online well in advance by using special offers and deals that we could find on the internet. If you are looking to save money, I'd recommend staying at an apartment rather than a hotel, because in a hotel you can't really cook your food and you're at the mercy of just having a mini fridge. If you are the kind of person who loves to get coffee or a beer at a local cafe or try different local snacks, you should definitely factor these into your budget. Side note, if you are heading to Iceland for the first time and you want to know what to pack in your suitcase, things like hiking boots, waterproof trousers, ND filters for your camera, you can head to that blog post, which I will link below. We stayed in Reykjavík for 6 days in a charming Airbnb tucked away right next to Reykjavík's domestic airport, RKV. So how do we get around Iceland? My friends and I unanimously decided that we would prefer to drive around Iceland and road trip the Golden Circle ourselves, not only to save a huge amount of costs from guided tours, but also so that we could just discover things on our own. We rented a car at the airport so we could hit the road from the airport and be fully independent after landing. We booked an automatic 4-wheel drive Subaru Outback, and we drove it straight from the airport towards our apartment in Reykjavík. My number one tip is to rent a car with heated seats, because there will be such a game changer when you are soaked and freezing from a snowstorm or rain shower that decides to pelt down, or if you have been standing too close to a waterfall. Now that the logistics are done and dusted, let's jump into the guide. First, I recommend checking out Iceland's spectacular waterfalls. They have waterfalls for days in the Golden Circle. From Faxi to Seljalandsfoss, Iceland will give you a newfound appreciation for the thunderous, powerful magic of water. I personally love Seljalandsfoss because when you get to walk on the trail behind the water in a little cave and experience the magnitude of the power and the spray. It was epic. Meanwhile, the iconic Skogafoss, with its misty aura and its permanent rainbow, lived well up to its height. If you are a photographer or you plan to capture some waterfall content, I highly recommend bringing a waterproof GoPro, because unless you have a weather-sealed SLR, your lenses are going to get super misted up and damp, which isn't ideal. I also recommend wearing waterproof or rain trousers. They are super sexy. Again, if you want to know what to pack, check out the link in the description. Next, I recommend seeing the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights are an amazing atmospheric phenomenon which are well regarded as the holy grail of sky watching. The Northern Lights, or the Aurora Borealis, glow in the night sky and dance around in stunning colours. I really recommend researching places to see the Northern Lights on your trip to Iceland. One of my favourite experiences in Reykjavík, of all places, was getting to experience the Northern Lights just 10 minutes away from our Airbnb at Grotta Lighthouse. Initially, we had planned to book a guided tour, but in the end we decided to hunt for the Northern Lights ourselves using Iceland's fantastic Met Office wind coverage map, vidor.is. And if you're a photographer, of course, I would definitely recommend setting up well in advance of the time the lights are due to dance, because you'll only have a small time frame to work with, so you're going to want to get your long exposures and time lapses and settings sorted. I only brought along a 10 to 18 wide angle lens, which turned out to be more than good enough. I just cranked up the ISO and then I edited the raw image in Adobe Lightroom. PS, if you want to learn how to edit your travel photos on Adobe Lightroom Mobile, I have a little course about that, so do check that out. to. My next recommendation is to go and check out the glacier caves in Vik. If you're making the effort to get to Iceland, I truly recommend going on a glacier cave tour. We booked a 4-hour super jeep tour near Katla Volcano. During the tour, we had a huge pair of snow trucks take us to Vik Glacier Cave, winding through dazzling white snowscapes that were so pure and unbroken that I genuinely lost my bearings. I felt like I was hallucinating a little bit. Our tour guides provided us with crampons, which are sharp fixtures that you attach to your shoe to help you gain better traction on snow and ice, and they gave us bright orange helmets as well. We stepped into the cave, it just felt like entering Narnia. It was just amazing seeing these layers and layers of ice and rock. So if you've never stood inside an ice cave, I reckon you should go and try it, especially if you're in Iceland's Golden Circle. Next, I recommend spending some time at the iconic black sand beach known as Reynisjara. Known for its roaring Atlantic waves, gigantic basalt stacks, and gorgeous panoramas, the otherworldly Reynisjara beach is considered one of Iceland's most stunning black sand beaches. Around 2.5 to 3 hours drive from Reykjavík by car, Reynisjara is a highly popular stop along the Golden Circle. Iceland has a number of stunning black beaches, such as Diamond Beach. However, it is Reynisjara that was voted by Nat Geo as one of the top 10 non-tropical beaches to visit on the planet back in 1991. Reynisjara's black sands come as a result of volcanic eruptions from Katla Volcano. Science is cool. I love seeing the grand and mighty basalt stacks known as Reynisjara, and indeed the beach itself is so iconic. They have been featured in popular culture, including on the TV series Game of Thrones, films like Noah, and of course the epic Star Wars Rogue One. If you are into wildlife photography or bird watching, I do recommend that you bring along your binoculars and telephoto zoom lenses, because the sea stacks are also home to thousands of seabird species like puffins and fulmar. I've never seen waves as big or violent or experienced winds as strong as at Reynisjara, so there are definitely some dangerous sides to visiting the beach. Do be careful, and if you are taking photos, make sure your camera lens is weather sealed, that you are wearing gloves, that you have a camera strap, and you are just ready for all the elements, because those winds are strong. Next, I recommend jumping on a boat and doing a whale watching tour. We took a tour that set off from the old harbour in Reykjavík and took us out to the waters of Faxaflói Bay. It was full of wildlife, puffins and fulmars, whales and dolphins. We went with Elding on their classic whale watching tour, and this lasted us 3 hours. We had to pull thermal suits over our clothes. Those suits kept us so nice and toasty during the tour, especially when we were standing out on the deck in the wind. And although we didn't see any whales, nature surprised us with a pod of dolphins that were dancing and playing in the waves. That was definitely one of my highlights, because I absolutely love whales and dolphins. Plus there were these gorgeous snow-capped mountains in the distance as we glided through the waters. Elding also has a very generous policy whereby if you don't see a whale on the tour, they invite you back free of charge to try again within about a year or so. The next thing I'd recommend doing is visiting the Great Geysir. It's one of the most visited spots along the Golden Circle. It's a highly active hot spring area with boiling mud pits and exploding geysers. Geysers are essentially sulfuric explosions which kind of smell like boiled egg. They blow boiling hot water into the air. Strókur is incredible and reliably erupts every 5 minutes, blasting water hundreds of feet, over 50 meters, into the air every so often, and it looks like this. Pretty awesome, right? As well as geysers, hot springs, mud springs, and gorgeous landscape of nature's colors, I honestly can't think of anything more atmospheric or representative of Iceland's epic geology than steaming blowholes and boiling hot mud kits at Geysir. Next, I recommend going to Thingvellir National Park. I highly recommend visiting Thingvellir, which is the only UNESCO World Heritage Site on Iceland's mainland. Around 45 minutes from Reykjavík, the national park holds so much geological and historical significance. It's home to Iceland's largest natural lake, which was also featured in Game of Thrones, and it's known for its unusual tectonic and volcanic environment in a rift valley. You can clearly see continental drift between North America and Eurasian plates and the cracks and faults around the region. You can explore the Foss waterfall, and you can even dive between tectonic plates at Silfra Fissure. During the dive, you'll experience amazing visibility in this one-of-a-kind geological phenomenon where you get to drive between Eurasian and North American continental plates, and it's the only place in the world where you can snorkel and dive directly in the crack between two tectonic plates. Because the park is on the Golden Circle, Circle and it's one of the main attractions, you can expect plenty of tourists and tour buses. Try to make sure you go really early or a bit later if you want to avoid the crowd. There is also a camping area, and all around the park are beautiful viewing platforms and hiking trails that you can take advantage of. The rest of the park is absolutely breathtaking and well worth a couple of hours of exploring at the very least. Another place I'd recommend seeing is Kerid Crater Lake. Kerid is a volcanic crater lake. It's a beautiful low-key sightseeing spot that really charmed. We went to visit Kerid in winter, so of course the crater lake was frozen solid, and we also needed to do a very short hike down the stairs to the crater, but because of the snow, it was very slippy and a bit treacherous. So in terms of accessibility, if you need support, do make sure you bring crampons or snow boots or a walking stick, because it might get a bit difficult once the snow has turned into slush. We just had fun throwing snowballs at each other and enjoying the feeling of being able to slide on ice across a volcanic crater lake. Next, I highly recommend taking a day or two at least to explore Reykjavík, which is Iceland's coastal capital city. Reykjavík is famous for its colourful houses, its unique architecture, its cultural scene, its museums, and its chic boutiques and nightlife. There is so much to do in Reykjavík, and we absolutely loved exploring it by day and by night. If you're into shopping, Lagoon or Main Street is full of quirky Icelandic boutiques, museums, thrift and vintage shops, artsy restaurants and independent cafes, and you will find Gothic modern churches and hidden record stores and so much more. By midnight, the city comes alive with cafes turning into clubs and bars opening up, ready for the evening's party, and there is just something to suit everyone in Reykjavík. At the National and Saga Museums, you can discover Iceland's Viking history, and at the striking Hallgrímskirkja Church, you can see views of the sea and the nearby hills. Following on from Reykjavík, I highly recommend trying traditional Icelandic cuisine and drink. I think cuisine tells you so much about a place or a culture. My top recommendation is to enjoy a traditional tasting menu at Grill Market or Grill Markadurin, one of Iceland's most popular restaurants. We ordered the tasting menu, which is about £75 or $90 per person. I felt awful about the idea of eating whale, shark or puffin, so we didn't opt for those particular delicacies, but the main tasting menu was sensational. I really recommend dining there. Other exciting Icelandic delicacies included wolffish, skyr or Icelandic yogurt, kleinur, which is a twisted donut. Drinks wise, you can check out a local brew called Brennivin, which is also known as Black Death. There are so many epic other things you can do in Iceland, such as visiting the Blue Lagoon or underrated alternatives like the iconic Sólheimasandök plane wreckage, but these recommendations I've included here are tried and tested, easy access hotspots that will blow your mind on the Golden Circle, and hopefully as much as they blew my mind as well. My trip to Iceland was one of those amazing adventures that I know is going to stay with me forever. If you are planning to visit Iceland, let me know. If you have been to Iceland before, I'd love to know whether you thought it was overhyped or if it was everything you dreamed of. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe. Keep watching, keep creating, and I'll catch you in the next video.